Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the One Talk podcast. You're here with your host, Ryan McCarthy. And today we are joined by Liam Wilson. Liam is a professional boxer fighting at an all-star boxing gym. And within today's episode, there's a raw conversation about Liam's life, family, boxing, mindset, challenges he's faced and how he looks to overcome them, aspirations and visions for the future, and also his fight that he's got coming up on July 10th against Youssef Dib, and so much more. Because Liam's gone from stepping into a boxing gym at the age of 9 to having his first fight at the age of 10 to then fighting for 2 world titles, and we touch on everything in between of that as well. And it was such a great episode, and being able to speak with Liam and get behind the gloves and meet the men. So hope you've enjoyed today's episode. In other news, if you could please leave this podcast a rating, it means so much in terms of helping this podcast grow and reaching a larger audience and getting this message out there. So if you're on Spotify or Apple, if you could leave a rating and follow. If you're on YouTube, if you could subscribe and give a thumbs up, it would mean so much, and it's much appreciated. In other news, if you're in Brisbane and you want that absolute best barber around, then check out G Cuts. Step into the world of sharp looks and fresh cuts at G Cuts Barbershop. Their talented team is here to craft the perfect style tailored just for you. From classic cuts to modern trends, they've got you covered. Experience the difference at G Cuts, where every haircut is a masterpiece. So check out the link in the bio and check out G Cuts if you're in the Brizzy. But without further ado, let's welcome Liam.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. The marathon continue. Victory lap tonight, though. Victory lap tonight.
Welcome to the One Talk podcast with Ryan McCarthy.
The marathon continues. That's what you would say.
Welcome to the One Talk podcast, Liam Wilson. How are you?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries at all, brother. Thanks for making the time to come on today. I've been a big fan of your work and your fights for the last few years, brother. And I've been going to all-star boxing events in the last couple of years as well. And it's so awesome to see your progression over the years and to see where you've gotten today, man.
Thank you so much. A lot of hard work has been put in, and the journey still continues. So we're still at hard work. We've got a big fight coming up, and we're going to finish this year strong. So.
Yeah, most definitely, because I know with the fight coming up, I know you've been on the world stage twice fighting for world champions, and I know there must be a journey to get to where you are now. I know it may feel like the journey somewhat is stalling in a sense, but I would like to bring it back to the start in your earlier years, brother. Like, where are you from? And then also, like, what were some of your first memories of getting into boxing?
Yeah, so I started boxing in a place called Kingaroy. It's a country town about 2 hours away from me. And at the time, I was playing soccer at the time, football, some people might call it. And always just sort of had an aggressive sort of nature, competitive. I love fighting, even as a young kid. Not like hurting people, but just an aggressive sort of mentality. And at the time, my best friend came to school with a boxing trophy. And I was extremely jealous. Like, I thought I was the fighter in the group. And I think that day I went back home and I said, Dad, you have to take me to the boxing gym. And my friend gave up boxing. I kept going. And 18 years later, here I am. I'm still doing it. I had to give away soccer to pursue this sort of career. And yeah.
How old were you at that time? In the early years when your mate came home, you wanted to get into it?
I was about 9 or 10. So I had my first fight when I was 10 years old. And yeah, I was sort of on and off. I was on and off fighting for the first 3 years. Then we had a family decision to move up to Caboolture. And that's where it all sort of took off for me. Yeah. I boxed out of Caboolture for about 6 years. Yeah. About 5-6 years. And did some very good things there. And moved over to All Stars Boxing Club as my career sort of took off, and I had to sort of improve things and follow this journey that I'm good at, thankfully. So,
like, getting into it at 10 years old and having your first fight, what experience do you think that gave you in life? Because when I went to the All Star, the last one that was down at the gym, I was seeing the young guns get after it, and I was like, this must teach them so much skills that they can take out for life. Like, Getting into a young age, what skills do you think you really learned that has carried you through?
Yeah, it's weird because I see a lot of young kids in the gym, and they're always, I don't know, maybe because how the dynamics have changed. I think nowadays, and maybe in the gym, All Stars Boxing is so much different to Kingo Boxing Club where I started. I was sort of the only kid there fighting, and I see so many kids fighting week in week out now, and I couldn't do that as a young kid. Like I had heaps of opportunities to fight. I'd always get asked to fight, and I declined a lot of them. When I first started, I had I think it was something like 12 fights in 3 years, but I could have had a lot more. I probably could have had 20, 25. But I just sort of said no to a lot of them. I guess it was a confidence thing and being scared of getting in the ring. Like to me, it was very daunting as a kid. And I had an older brother fighting at the same time, so I think him fighting and him saying yes to a fight made me sort of say yes to it as well. So we both went on tournaments together and just sort of found a love for it. Like I think after getting a few wins under your belt too, I lost my first fight, so that would have been daunting for me. Getting a few wins under my belt kind of made me feel like I had a bit of hope. And it's daunting as a young kid.
Yeah,
I think so anyway.
Yeah,
So
no
when
doubt.
so when I see these young kids in the gym fighting week in, week out, I take my hat off to them. Like
It shows strength too. Like it shows that you still may feel fearful, and no matter what you do in life, you're gonna have that fear attached to you. But as long as you have the courage to overcome that fear, like you can build so much like self trust within yourself. I find.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of it's just deep down inside you. Like you might not feel it, you might not see it, but there's something inside you that makes you return back to it. Like I'd have a fight, I'd be scared and nervous, but then for some reason I would be back in there 2 months later, or 6 months later, whatever it may be. And I'm here 18 years later, still doing it, still loving it, and I still strive to do great things.
In those early days, did you have a vision that it's something that you wanted to take far, or was it more so of you just wanted to learn the skills and see how it went, and down the road you started to see like how good you really were?
Yeah, no, like for me, it had always been something that I thought, like I always wanted to be world champion. I don't know if that was something. I mean, as a young kid, I felt like it was a real thing to sort of believe, and I obviously believed it. I wanted to be world champion. I wanted to be good. I wanted to be great. I love fighting. So getting into the boxing and sticking to it was just something that I had to do. I could never see myself ever departing from it or giving it up. But no, I always had that ambition to honestly be a world champion. And like I've had 2 shots at that, and I haven't done that successfully yet. But I'm still going strong, and I'm still very hungry.
Yeah. Do you feel like, because you said you lost your first fight, and after that you started to get on the run of wins, what do you think you learned from that first loss that really helped you succeed going forward when you got on those straight wins?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Like after a long time ago, but like when you have your first fight, it's just nerves take over you. That's what I felt. I was the only little kid in the gym. I was the only kid to really just sort of feed off as well. Like I was just feeding off my own performance, my own energy and how I felt. But I think me getting over that first loss was a big one for me to sort of try and move forward from it. And thankfully I did. I think I lost my first fight and won my next 12, and then I lost my next 12. Then lost my last fight at Kingo Boxing Club. Moved up to Caboolture, and I started on a good run again. And I fought that same guy I lost to last with my old gym, and I ended up getting one up on him. Won, and it kind of started to feel really real then for me. Like by that stage, I was about maybe 20 fights, 1 or 2 losses, and like it just. I was a young kid too. I ended up getting selected for. I won the Queensland title. Then I went to the Australian Championships down in Canberra. I must have been 14 years old. I then got selected for a trip to Russia. 14 years old, being selected for a trip to Russia. That's when it started to feel really real for me. On that trip, there was Jeff Horn, George Kambosos, some really good other fighters from this country. And I went over to Russia. I won. And then when I come back, I just sort of, it was very surreal to me because I'd never been on a plane before in my life, not for a holiday, nothing. But here I am on a plane as a 14-year-old kid going to Russia, doing a sport that I loved at the time, still do obviously. Yeah. And it was a very, very surreal moment for me because, you know, I just simply thought, wow, like, I wonder where this can take me. And, you know, I loved it so much at the time. I love it. I still do, obviously. I loved it so much at the time. It meant so much to me then. Yeah. So I'm glad that it's taken me places up until this day.
Taking you all around the world. And I can imagine as well, like being 14, 15 and going to Russia and end up winning as well. Like the feeling that must have been within yourself. Like what was that like in the moment when you got that win?
Man, it was crazy. Like I think it was more crazy for me to like I was happy with myself, but to come home and just tell my family. When I was more excited to tell my family, my friends, all my fans back then. Yeah, just people that were interested in what I was doing. I just felt like it was a big moment for me to come home and tell people that I'd won. You know, I knew that they probably would never imagine me to fly over to Russia and fight. And here I am as a 14-year-old kid, had done that, left the country, gone over there, and won my first international fight. So for me, that was a big thing, and I think that alone made me sort of step into and pursue this career that I'm still in. Now that was if I lost, I don't know what would have happened, but that was a big key moment for me to pursue this.
At that age as well, like did you still have like that ferociousness within you? Because I've heard people say, like if do you know they're going to spar Liam Wilson, they're thinking about it the night before, like when they're getting in the ring with you the next day, when they're training with you, because everyone talks about how much of a hard work you are, how much you just go all the way and never give up. Did you have that from a young age?
Yeah, I really did, man. I seriously did. I don't know where it come from. My brothers have that as well. I guess it's just sort of in our blood. Just very intense. There's a lot of aggression inside us guys, us family, and I don't know. Even through like my sports that I play at soccer, any competitive sort of things through school, between mates, friends, family, I always had this aggressive stigma inside me. And the best place to sort of let that release was in boxing. And so it kind of translated very well. And I never really understood how to put a cap on it until maybe a year or two ago. Because I'd go to spars and I'd just try and really hurt my sparring partner, and it has to be a working relationship as well. So I had to kind of get out of that sort of that mindset. I just always had it, even in my day-to-day life. It's just always aggressive. I mean, it's not something to brag about either. Yeah, I just can't. I think it's what has got me in this position where I am now.
I know when people talk about fights and boxing, they say you have to learn to control that side of you to an extent, so you don't just make mistakes or make lazy mistakes. Yeah. Do you feel like? Or let me rephrase the question. What's some of the things that you do that really helped calm that side of yourself down so you can stay more focused?
It's a tough one because I think in the fight, it's always in there. Like going into the whole training camp, it's always in there. Going to the fight, it's always in there. And I think it's sometimes gone against me as well. Like you said before, making mistakes. People capitalizing on your aggression, and sometimes your aggression can be used against you. You might get too tired, and I think that's me. My style is always full steam ahead, and I think now in my career, after a few losses, I'm 28 years old. I've had to kind of peel that back and really use my boxing brain rather than just go full steam ahead. And I'll look forward to showing that on July 10, my next fight, because I feel like, this. I kind of feel like this will be the end of the road for me if I stick to that same sort of attitude I had, full steam ahead. Just my inside internal energy sort of ate me up. Yeah. So I got to be smarter and.
And it's great self-awareness as well, because that makes you aware of yourself a lot deeper. But it sounds like you're getting to a point now where the experiences give you wisdom going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And like, obviously after an experience, whether it be good or bad, you always have time to reflect on it.
Mm.
And unfortunately, in the last couple of years, I've had a few close big moments in my boxing career. And I think they've all been my own undoing. So and that's not a bad thing, because if it was up to me, that's good. That means I can have room to fix it. I can obviously work on myself and come back and be a better fighter. I think obviously I lost fair and square in those fights where I came up short. But I really do believe it was my own undoing. And if I ever got the rematch opportunity, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, because it shows like if this is your own doing, then you're the one in control the next time it happens.
100%, man. And that's exactly. Yeah, I'm not trying to trick myself to believe that. I genuinely do believe that it's my own undoing, and it gives me a lot of confidence to grow as well, because I know if I can fix that, and I am fixing that, I can be a better fighter than I ever was.
Yeah, and like to reflect on those times that you're saying now, is it more so like you're rewatching the fights and you're planning through your head on what you could have done or maybe where you went wrong to do next time? Is that how it works?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, because I feel bad saying on my podcast, but I haven't even watched my fight back with Valdez, because I know deep down in my heart that it was my own undoing. I actually no, I lied. Sorry, I watched up to round 4, I think, the other day, and just sort of turned it off. I know it sort of went downhill after that, and again, I just didn't stick to the game plan. I think my aggression sort of took over, and my persona of being a tough guy definitely took over. And rather than use my boxing ability, I banked on toughness. And in this sport, you can get hurt, and it made me realize like that person I thought I was, it doesn't always hold up. So I have to use my brain now. Like it's a good learning experience. So I haven't, and it hasn't swayed my dream or what I strive to be. It just makes me want to be better, and go back to the drawing board and really try and fix it. So my trainers always said it to me. The people that haven't seen the best of me yet, and I truly do 100% believe that.
Yeah, that must be an inspiring thing for yourself to hear, because your ability, some of the things that happen maybe be your doing. So it's in your control. The ball's in your park going forward in the next fights. And I always find that you never really lose. Instead, it's more so a lesson. And I find that the only time you lose is if you quit. If you keep going, you use your lessons and you stack them for experience, you can only get better from there, man.
100%, man. And I always say it to people that have had a fight or are going to have a fight. I say, make sure you learn from it. Like if you quit, I'll be disappointed. You found the easy way out. Use it as a learning lesson. Come back and better your mistakes. And if I'm out there preaching that and saying that, I have to live by that as well. And that's what I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm boxing very good in training camp at the moment. I understand, I understand myself. I've had a few losses on my record. They're two very credible fighters. But but the reason is, it's like, why have you been losing? What has been the undoing? And I'm 28 years old now. I've had a lot of hard fights in my career. It's time to box smarter, and in this later stage of my career, I have to really start doing that.
Yeah, I always find as well, like especially these days with sports science and all the ways of recovery, like careers last so much longer these days. So it still feels like 28 is still quite a young age with how old boxers fight for now.
Yeah, I hope it's young. I hope it is. It's pretty crazy, man. Like, I think it's up to the individual, how much punishment they take, how their career's gone. Like, if you're 28 years old and you haven't taken any risks throughout your career, we'd be right to fight until you're 50. But for us, in my situation, I'm 28 years old. I've taken some big challenges that people were very scared to do. But I was always up for it. I like challenging myself. Again, it stems back down to when I was a little kid. I believe I was going to be a world champion. I want to be a world champion, and I still do. And I could have sat on the sideline and I had some more fights to my record and build myself up. But we took those opportunities because we genuinely believe that we could have beaten those guys. And and I'm sitting there right now, and I do think I can still beat them. If there's a rematch opportunity there, I'd take it. But I do have things to fix and work on, and I'd like to think I'm doing that.
Is that why you really came for your next fight? Because like an opportunity to showcase that as well.
100%. Because like I'm coming off a loss, and I feel like I need to. Basically, what you just said, like I have to show that I have learned from my mistakes, and a big motivation for me is in losing in life and whatever you do, you get doubters, and some of those doubters can be very close to you as well.
Yeah.
Obviously there's the fight fans of Australia, people I don't even know. That's one, but I'm sure there's people that are very close to me as well, friends, family, that would be doubting me in some way, and not in a bad way, but just like, oh, I wonder if Liam still loves it, or I wonder if Liam can still do it, and it eats me. It makes me very hungry, and I can't wait to a fight date and to prove everyone wrong, and prove myself right. I think I have a long time left in the sport. I just have to box smart and have a new tactic in there.
Yeah, I think that's great advice as well, especially for the people listening. Like if people around you may doubt you, or maybe the world's doubting you, instead of using that as something to reflect on, feel down about yourself, instead use it as fuel. You know what I mean?
100%, man. Like, because I could be sitting here, or since the fight, just grieving on it, getting down about it, digging myself my own little hole. But I know myself as my own undoing. I can better myself, and I'm excited to do that. So I've used it, and I am using it as pure motivation throughout this training camp. And it's a very cliche thing to say, but these doubters are motivating me. Yeah, so I can't wait.
Yeah, it's find a way to fuel you. And I always wondered too as well, especially because there's like a statistic in the world that public speaking is the #1 feared thing. And then I've been reflecting on that lately, and I was like, I can't imagine like public speaking, but then the other side of it, if you're a boxer going to fight in front of a crowd of people, I feel that would be a lot more daunting than public speaking. Like, how do you deal?
That's funny. I never knew that statistic, but yeah, I believe that. I believe that. I'm shocked at public speaking, as you've probably seen in the past. When there's a camera in front of me and a mic, I should sort of freeze up in that. But yeah, I don't know. It's two different things. Like maybe because I started this when I was 9, 10 years old, it just sort of, it's a natural thing to me, and I feel like I have a lot of aggression and the fighting desire inside me. I started boxing to fight. Yeah. And that's simply that. I didn't start to speak and talk and that. So
because you're passionate about the thing.
Yeah, 100%. Like I know, obviously as my career sort of evolved, this stuff is very important for this fight game that I'm in. Yeah, getting the people into it, and I've been doing this for a bit now. I hope I get better at it.
Yeah, no doubt. And like, especially performing in front of a massive crowd, is there any performance anxiety that comes up before the fight, or do you usually absorb it for fuel or motivation in the fight?
Yeah,
how do you deal with that?
You hear people I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that do get stage fright. For me, I don't buy into the crowd being there. I fought in front of some very big crowds, thousands and thousands of people, but I never let the atmosphere get to me. I use it as pure motivation, a very surreal moment that, I remember back to when I was a little kid, at 10 years old when I first started, my first trip overseas. And wow, in my head, I'm like, wow, I finally made it. Obviously not for the world, in these world title fights. For me, it's more of a surreal thing for me. I'm nervous throughout training camp. Yeah, that's when it gets to me. But I use that as fuel to train harder. As we get closing on the fight date, it's just a big motivation ball for me. Yeah. And I think that also clears out when I'm getting ready for the fight. As I'm in that locker room getting ready, all that sort of fizzles out. And I use that as pure motivation when I get that, and just the fight inside of me is ready to go.
It's like, it reminds me of something that Mike Tyson said, because I seen him doing an interview years ago back when he was fighting in his prime, and he always said he's always scared of his opponent throughout the whole training camp because it fueled him to train harder. And fight night came, and all that fear just went away.
Yeah, and man, I totally do agree with that, man. Like it's the one thing that you have on your mind is winning. Like, are you gonna win the fight? Are you gonna lose the fight? You know, so you obviously train to win. Everything's around winning. Your diet, your training regime, how your sparring's going, and you know, you're working to that fight date. So the only other person you can worry about is your opponent and yourself. And make sure you're doing the hard work, and in some cases, for me, is to outwork my opponent. So that for me gives me a lot of confidence when I walk into the ring, to know the fact that I've put in a lot of hard work. I like to think I'm working harder than him, and I got in the fight with pure confidence. I think other than the fact that I've always loved fighting as a young kid, and when the fight day comes around, I finally get to put it all to play.
Yeah, 100%. And like, coming up to this fight, Youssef did on July 10th, like, what does a day-to-day in camp for yourself look like with training or nutrition? Like, what does your day-to-day look like?
The training camp can change through the different phases that we're in. The first few weeks are really focusing on our fitness, the hard work, and then we go into a sparring phase. And I think you can ask any boxer out there. That's the fun part of camp. You got a day to focus on sparring, and then you might do your conditioning later on. And then the next day you have a day in the gym and back to sparring again. So we try and get 2 or 3 days of sparring in a week. And I think that part of camp's fun. It's not quite fighting, but it's the closest thing to it. So that's where I'm at right now. The hard sparring sort of phase, and it's fun, man. It's fun. It's like, as a young kid, I remember like all I wanted to do was spar. So to be in there 3 days a week with good opposition. These are some of the guys we spar are potential opponents as well. So it has to be a working relationship, and a good quality spars as well.
It must be exciting too, because like there's a goal towards the spar as well. Like the end goal is the fight as well. It's like you're working towards something along the way.
Exactly right, man. And like I think the last few camps have been like that, but this camp in particular, I've had to really focus on when we go into a spar is to stick to a task that my trainers laid out for us. And on fight night, I hope that all goes to plan. And throughout this camp, it's gone really well so far. And I can't wait to show the public. All the hard work I've been doing in the gym is going to come to fruition.
On July 10th to see you against Youssef down in Wollongong.
Man, I'm pumped. Like, I'm moving up in weight as well. That's pretty surreal for me. For the majority of my career, I've been fighting at super featherweight. I haven't been that weight since I was 15, 16 years old. So to be campaigning at that throughout my whole professional career, basically, and finally, get a bit of leeway and move up a division, I feel a lot more comfortable in camp. I do feel more stronger, and just more energy in myself. So, I like to think it will translate into the fight night, and I'm expecting a good performance.
Yeah, I can imagine, because your punches are heavy already. I can imagine a lightweight.
Well, man, I hope so. Like, I hope it really does. I hope it really does tick over to the heavier weight. Like, I had powers with featherweight. I believe I still do. And I can't wait to get in the ring and just feel nice and fresh. That cut to get down to super featherweight has been quite hard for me over the last few years. I'm excited. I'm excited for moving up to lightweight, man. Like, I think I'll conserve a lot of energy. I think I will be stronger, and we're just gonna wait until the fight day. To be honest, like, I've done everything in training camp so far. I feel like I have a lot more energy in my day-to-day sort of living, and just not being so. I'm always strict, and I'm sticking to a regime, and I still currently am. But it's good to have a bit of freedom in yourself. Come to training, a bit more life about you as well. And man, I'm excited. I really am. I'm excited for this fight, and see where it takes me as well. Obviously, campaigning a new weight division. I always said I'd only move up to lightweight for George Kambosos' fight. And I'm treating this fight as a sort of fight off for George Kambosos, because I know Youssef has called him out as well in the past. I'd like that fight with George as well. So in my head, I'm just saying as like the winner of this fight will fight him. I'm not too sure what he's doing on his end, but we'll get this one out of the way first, July 10, and we'll see where it takes us.
I think
Otherwise, I might move it back down to super fat. I'm not too sure yet.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a trial and error thing for us.
I think every Australian wants to see that fight as well. Liam Wilson versus George Kambosos, what a fight that will be.
I think it makes just complete sense. Like, he's a good resume. I have a good resume. He's had a few losses now, so have I. But I think for the Australian public, the fight fans of this country, I think everybody would want to see it. And like on my end, I'm moving up in weight division to make it easier for him to make this fight happen. Whether he takes or not, I'm not too sure. But we can only we can gun for it, which is what we're doing, and hopefully we get the ball rolling after July 10.
Yeah, because especially at the moment, boxing is just so exciting at the moment, and it's so good to see, especially within Australia as well. And you got so many big fighters. You got yourself, you got George Kambosos, then we got Dan Hill and Louis Chad fighting in September as well. I recently did a podcast with Luke Medini, so to see an Australian clash like Liam Wilson versus George Kambosos would just be something that the Australian public would want and need.
Man, 100%, and that's the way I think as well. Who wouldn't want to see that fight? And better yet, why wouldn't he want that fight? I know I'm probably not the same caliber of fighter that he's fought in the past. Lomachenko, Haney, Lopez, but look, for an Australian fight, I think I'm his dancing partner. I really do think that, and I know I take a lot of pride in having an all Australian showdown. I get my first one, or not the first one, but I get quite a big one on July 10. But I'd like to have that one really big one for Australia. I don't know. I'm sure that he would that as well. I don't see why he wouldn't. So
hopefully in Brisbane.
Hopefully in Brisbane, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man, I'm excited for that fight. Like I said before, that's the only reason I moved up to lightweight. It's purely for a fight with George Kambosos. If it happens, that's another thing. I'm sure he probably has different plans, but it's while I'm still boxing, I'm still going to try and get that.
Does training camp look much different when you're preparing for a different weight division?
To be honest, fighting at super featherweight is a big cut for me. I could fight as a lightweight or even super lightweight. I'm big enough for all three divisions. So not necessarily. I don't think it changes too much. I'm doing a bit more strength sort of training, but for me it just means the cut's a bit less. And for me that's happy. That's good. So we'll see what happens anyway. I think as time goes on, with this fight being a lightweight, and obviously considering that I win, if it doesn't sort of anticipate a George Kambosos fight, I will change my training regime for that. But if the fight isn't there, I might just end up going back down to super featherweight. So I don't want to bulk up too much. I just want to sort of say where I am and just make the weight cut a bit less than what it is.
Yeah, that makes sense then, because you don't want to make something too dramatic because you don't know what the future holds, because you might have a fight before.
Exactly right, man. Fight. Yeah, exactly right, man. So I just have to play it safe until something's really cemented in. But we're training very hard. I feel like I'm in very great shape this far out from the fight. We're closing on about 3 weeks out. Sparring's getting pretty heavy now. I feel nice and fresh, and man, everything's going to plan. Injury free, thank God. Man, everything's going really smooth, man, and I'm excited.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I was watching a interview you did. I believe it was your last fight when you were fighting overseas, and I was just thinking about myself and how I would process it. But I'm keen to hear about you. What's the experience like fighting overseas, away from friends, away from family, away from your kids, away from the missus, when everyone's back home, or you may not be around them as much? What's that experience like being overseas, away from friends and family, preparing for a fight?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's something that you sort of sign up for. When you say yes to the fight, you're going into deep waters. There's going to be a lot of restrictions. You're gonna be missing out on a lot of things in life, and but it's all part of the job. like I think for me, I enjoyed it. Other than being away from the kids, my first fight overseas with Navarrete as a professional, that was tough. My kids were pretty young. I was gone for about 8 or 9 weeks altogether. So seeing my kids grow and develop and missing that, it just that was pretty hard to deal with. The last fight I had over there with Valdez, that was, I was a bit more, because I've had that sort of taste of what it feels like. So it wasn't too bad, but I do like the shut off from the good things back home. Friends, family, people annoying you. Just purely focusing on the job at hand, and that's getting ready for. At that time was the biggest fight of my life. So I think it was a needed thing for me. No distractions, and it was good. I was over there with a good team as well. Like obviously my trainer, my good friend Callum. He's my dietitian over there. He does my cooking, cleaning. He's my right hand man for me, so it's pretty handy, man. And I'm always in a good spot. So when I go overseas, I'm in a position where I can just focus purely on training 100%.
That makes sense though. Like not having distractions around you can help so much. I always thought about that, especially when you're competing at like such a high level in sports. Like temptations must just be around all the time, or distractions must be around all the time. But it's finding ways to really lock in and zone in. And like you said, when you went to America, you got a really good solid team around you, and you're able to lock in because the distractions or temptations aren't there.
100%, and like there's temptations, there's distractions, and like there can be people very close to you as well, just coming to visit you. They mean very well. They mean very good by it, and they mean well. But in a good hard training camp, it could be a time to rest, to recover, and it's good to sort of shut off from everything. I found that anyway. Some people might enjoy it. I enjoyed being secluded away from everything. It gave me a lot of time to focus, and there's a lot of people that mean well in what they do. They want to come visit you, but they're distractions. That could be time that you need to recover, rest. So being in another country where unfortunately don't have any friends and family there, it's time to focus, and you're in training camp.
Because like I'd imagine that recovery is just as important as training as well.
And I think I said to a few friends over the last couple of weeks, I do feel now at 28 years old, like it's so important. Like I don't get it. I wasn't as sore and little niggles and stuff when I was 21. But now that I'm 28, I feel like my body is very dependent on sleep, recovery, and obviously to go to a session and train hard. So if I didn't do all that stuff, the session probably wouldn't be as good as it was. Therefore, on fight night, I wouldn't be in the shape that I should be.
100%. Because like especially sleep is super important, like for recovery as well. Like what do you do? Like saunas, ice baths. Like what recovery things do you do to really help your body just rejuvenate?
So I try and do the ice bath every morning. Or of a night time I do sauna then ice bath. Either way, I do it every day. And as much as it is for recovery, I generally just enjoy it. I think it's very refreshing when your body's sore and tight. It's something to it's like my relaxing sort of thing to do. I'm locked in my sauna at home, and I'm just sort of, kids are out of there. And I can sort of chuck a podcast on, and just relax. I really do see it like that, and it's good for your mind and soul. Everybody should do it. Anyone that's listening, get a sauna or ice bath.
Definitely, I highly recommend it. Like I've got an ice bath out the back, but it's a chest freezer.
That's how I got. They're wonderful, eh?
Because like you look at like an ice bath with a couple of grand, but I bought my chest freezer off Marketplace for a couple of $100, sealed it up, and then like for $300 got myself an ice bath.
But the best thing, I really, anybody listening to this, I really couldn't stress enough for you to get one. It's the best thing for you, for your life, for well-being, and I'm trying to get my whole family into it. But my mum's getting older now, and she's like, I'm not doing that, whatever. One thing I say is like just get your legs in and try your legs and see the recovery. Oh man,
slowly work your way into it.
How long have you been doing it for, man?
I've been doing ice baths for about 2 or 3 years, I'd say now.
Are you pretty strict on it? Like you do it every day or every couple of days?
Not every day. I'd say every other day.
Yeah.
But I know that subconsciously I'm like I need to do it every day. But I'm just
I'm
I
not,
find stupid excuses.
yeah, nah, I'm the same. Like when I'm not in camp,
Yeah.
I struggle to get in there.
Mm.
When I'm in camp, I try and get in there, a good 5-6 times a week.
Yeah.
So the sauna, I don't see it. The sauna's easy to get
Easy,
into.
yeah.
And I actually really do enjoy that.
Mm.
Sometimes I get up to the ice bath and look at it and go,
Yeah.
yeah. That's happened a few times, but like with boxing, it always comes in. With boxing, it comes hand in hand. The hard training, the recovery is just as important.
Yeah.
And I think now as I'm getting older, I can really feel that in my energy and just how my own well being as well. There's nothing worse than being sore trying to train.
Yeah. No.
It feels impossible. Like I've done that for so long, and like I'm actually trying to change the way that I train as well. Like I always seen as, I had to work harder than everybody, but therefore I feel like I was kind of burning myself out as well.
Yeah.
And I just have to work smarter now. I've done a lot of K's on the body, a lot of hard work over the years, and now it's time to work smart.
I feel like that working harder bit will add so much advantage to you for the working smarter part too. Because when you're working smarter, you've got like that oomph in your tank to push further if
100%.
you need to.
Man, and that's what my idea behind it always was.
Yeah.
If I'm working hard like in the gym, outside the gym, come fight night, I'll have this the mentality that will make me tougher.
I feel like ice baths helps with that too, because like the mindset thing it does for you is incredible.
Yeah, 100%. And like there's been times where I've said no to the ice bath in the morning. I'm like, nah, I have to fucking get in there. If I don't, I've lost the fight.
Yeah.
So if you say no to ice baths, you probably say no to coming out in round 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So it all comes in hand in hand. You have to stick to a regime. Before you start training camp, you just have to stick to a solid regime. Yeah. And if that's what you've set out to do, make sure you do it for the 10 or 8 weeks, whatever your camp is.
And you got to stick to your word too, eh?
Yeah, you got to, because your word is very deep to you. You've told yourself that. So, it's not someone asking you to do it. You've told yourself that. Yeah. And, I'm excited on this journey. Like, I've seen ups and downs. I've nearly been world champion. I'm not, but I'm still on a path to try and become that. And I still I wouldn't say I'm very far away either. I'm still in arm's reach of it.
Definitely.
Got a few hard fights ahead of me, and we'll be back in the contention for another world title. Yeah. But this time around, I don't like to say third time lucky because it won't be lucky. But this third time I fight for a world title, I want to win it. So, that's the plan. I understand with that though. I have a lot of things to fix up on my end. I have to box smarter, stick to a game plan, listen to my coaches, and the things that we're mind doing, make them my strengths. Yeah,
definitely. I like how you said there as well. It's not going to be lucky, because my idea of luck is like it's when preparation meets opportunity.
That's right. Yeah,
just capitalize on that.
100%. And that's why I don't like saying third time lucky, because it's not luck. A lot of hard work behind it, but the third time I go for it, I'm gonna win it. Yeah. And it's been a hard road so far, but I always knew since a young kid my journey was never going to be easy. For some reason, I always believed that. I always knew that my journey was never meant to be easy. My journey as a professional boxer and winning the world title, I always knew it was never meant to be an easy one. And how things played out in Arizona the first time I went there and fought Navarrete, it would have been too surreal. I go over there, 13 fights under my belt. That was my 13th fight, sorry. And I go over there, knock out the Mexican world champion, the Hall of Famer, all in 4 rounds. Yeah. I would be pinching myself if that was real. Yeah. So I think it wasn't meant to be, and I'm very thankful of it. And for me to go back to the same place again a year later, but again, I'm learning on the job as well. Yeah. I went back there again a year later. I had 16 fights under my belt for another Mexican great, Oscar Valdez, former 2-time world champion, and I fell short there as well. And I truly do believe that this is all part of my journey. It was never meant to be easy, and it's far from over. Yeah, definitely. 28 years old. I've got a lot of experience under my belt. But I have to tighten a lot of screws up in my fighting game, and I can't show everyone that I can do that, and I will do that.
And do you find that you put a lot of pressure on yourself?
Man, yeah, for sure. Because like I do this for myself. I love fighting, right?
Yeah.
But I made a promise to my dad many years ago that I was going to win a world title for him. I've had added motivation since then. The birth of my 2 kids, and I always think of them before I hop in the ring. Throughout training camp, I always think of them. And when I win, it's glory days, happy days. When I lose, I have to. That really eats at me because I've made promises in the past, and in some fights I've failed to live up to that, and I'm in a position where, and I'm currently in a position now that I have to work to try and make that come true. So I just and like I'm my kid's superhero. I want to do good things for them. So that's the pressure I have on myself. Me as a person, I know I can fight any day of the week. Anyone, anywhere, I can do that. But it's the people I hold close to me that I want to make proud of me, and promises that I've made to my kids, to my dad. So that's probably the pressure that I take into these fights. Obviously I do love the sport for just the fight itself, the combat. I love it for that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what's gotten you at such a world-class level in boxing as well. It's like having that pressure, but the way you're able to deal with it is like, because like you said before, it uses fuel to make you work harder and smarter to become better. I feel like that's what has driven you to become a world-class boxer.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I'm not too sure what it is, but like I think it's definitely helped, man. Like having that mentality to do good things, to be just the fighting desire inside me as well. That along with my want to be a world champion it all combines it all combines together.
Yeah.
And we've still got a long road ahead of us. 28 years old, plenty of big fights ahead of us. I think in the past I've shown to this country that I'll fight anyone. I take all the hard fights. I know I'm a fan favorite sort of fighter. I'd like to think there's plenty more of those fights inside me.
Yeah. Like I want to know, like, what's probably your most proudest moment in your career you've had so far?
Most proudest moment of my career, it'd probably be the Joe Noine rematch, because that was my first loss, the first fight with him, and to come back from that, I was in a really dark spot as well. I had to overcome a lot of things. It's one thing to say that I could come back and beat him, but to actually do it, I had to wait and see until fight night. So the camp for me was very hard. There's a lot of dark days in there for me because I just remember so many little things like, I'd talk to my little girl and I'd be talking to Charlotte and I'd say, Charlotte, do you promise Daddy that he's gonna win? And I would sit there and think like, no, Daddy promises you. And I was looking for reassurance from anybody and everyone. My little girl, just everybody. Like, my trainer. Obviously, my trainer believed me. That's why we said yes to the fight. But I felt like I had to do it because I started well in the fight. I lost the first one. It ended the way it did, but I knew that I could bounce back and I could be that guy on my night. So the proudest moment of my career was the rematch with Joe Noine. I had a lot at stake. I felt like not only me winning the fight, but I wanted to do my trainer proud. I wanted to show that because if I lost the fight, everybody would bring him down as well. Not only myself, but people would say, well, why would his trainer say yes to the fight? So I felt like I had a lot at hand. I had to do my kids proud, I had to do myself proud, and my trainer. And we did that. We started the game plan, and the fight unfolded exactly the way we wanted it to. And, that launched me into the world rankings. I had another hard fight after that, and then I had the fight with Navarrete. So I'm very thankful for the opportunities that fight did bring. And just in myself too, to saying yes to the rematch straight away. That was the only fight I really could have got out of bed for. Saying yes to the rematch. I went hard at work. I was about 9 months before I fought him again. and I was just grinding the whole time. I had some late nights. I think I was training over New Year's, and I made sure I trained at 12:01 a.m. in the morning just to really start the year good and have Noine on my mind. All I could do was think about Joe Noine, wait and look forward to that fight date.
I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I find from this episode. I think it's so inspiring for people to see is your ability to handle pressure.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people will take away from this episode of, especially the young fathers that may be watching this, or maybe athletes or anyone in life, because we'll deal with pressure in different areas of our life, but finding a way to actually use your pressure as fuel to do something great instead of letting it be something that overrules you or overpowers you where you feel defeated. Instead, be like, no, fuck that. I'm going to use this to become better.
And that's right, man. You have to embrace it. In the fight game or whatever sport you're striving to be good at, you have to embrace the situation that you're in. Whether you have a loss in your life, a loss in boxing, or whatever sport that you pursue to be good at, you just have to embrace the situation that you're in. And people have seen I've lost a few times in boxing, but there's been plenty more losses in my life as well. And I don't need to say it on camera, but just little things in day-to-day life. And sometimes they're the harder things. Fighting for me is easy, but overcoming the day-to-day little struggles here and there, it could be just a hard day at home, or whatever it might be inside your brain. But you have to overcome that stuff, and I think that's where what really is character building. Being able to overcome the things in life, and they might be only small things, but throughout a whole training camp or throughout a whole year, if you can get through that stuff on top of the success and the fails that you have in the sport, they really do bring out the best in you.
Yeah, it's just always finding the way.
100%, man. 100%. And I always think I've overcome a lot in my career, but there's always worse off. And I always have that in the forefront of my mind. There's no need to be upset. There's no need to be down about yourself. Go hard, and we should be happy. We should be happy. We're doing something that we love.
At the end of every episode, we give the community of the guests, so Liam Wilson, and also One Talk, the chance to ask any Q&As you want to ask. So we got 5 here, and the first one is, if you could spar/train with any boxer in history, who would it be?
It'd probably be one of my idols, and that'd be. I'd like to spar and train with Eric Morales, Marquez as well. Edwin Valero, I think, would be very interesting. One, because of his character, and just his style would be brutal. More down to his own character. I think would be a very interesting person to train with, and just be alongside with for a short amount of time would be good. Experience, man.
Yeah, definitely, because then you get to maybe learn what they learn, but then also because camp's quite an extended period of time, so just being able to have that experience with someone. Yeah,
100%, man. I feel like he's a very interesting character as well, so I just want to see how he is on a day-to-day basis. Let alone spar with him. That'd be great, and just see how he does camp. It'd be good. And obviously I look up to him as well. So when you look up to those people, you still want to see how they revolve their whole training circuit around things, and what they do in a day-to-day life inside training camp.
That makes me curious as well. What were some of your fighters when you're growing up, or maybe today, that you really look up to?
It'd be Mickey Woods, Sergey Kovalev, Joe Fraser was my first one. I loved him. I think as when you're a kid, you sort of know of Muhammad Ali, and then I seen this guy with his crazy left hook, Joe Fraser, and I kind of adopted that. And he's my first fight that I really fell in love with. As time went on, I started getting to know more boxers, and Marquez, Morales.
So I remember when I was growing up, my dad had VHS tapes, and there was all of Mike Tyson's fights and all of Sugar Ray's fights.
Yeah, right.
I remember I used to just rinse and repeat, just watching them. So growing up, Sugar Ray and Mike Tyson were just my favorite fighters, just because just watch them all the time.
Beautiful. And I think watching the footage, and this is to a lot of young kids out there as well, I think if you have a fighter that you admire, or somebody you look up to, or simply a style that you might dislike, or visually you enjoy that, make sure you watch heaps of it. I think me growing as a boxer and improving as a boxer as well, I think that a lot of that was down to me watching boxing videos, boxing tapes on YouTube. YouTube's a very handy thing now.
Yeah,
you can look at everything you want, and watch training sessions, watch sparring, watch fights of the people that you like, and I'm sure I can really promise you that your boxing will improve so much quicker.
Yeah, because you learn so much, like the little things that they do, like maybe they step a certain way when they punch, or like the little tweaks you can learn. Like, oh, I'm going to try that next time sparring.
Yeah, man, you hit it on the head there. And I try and explain that to young kids as well. Like these young kids in my gym, that their trainer is my trainer as well. So I'll say to them, look, the best way I can put it across is the way that Benny's telling you to throw a jab. It might not sit with you right. You might not like it, or just something isn't clicking for you. But the way that Larry Holmes is throwing his jab that you watched on YouTube last night, you like that. And when you like something with your visual eyes, you will try and adopt it and learn it quicker than somebody telling you a way that this isn't clicking for you. So I always say, make sure you're watching heaps of tape, video, and you'll see yourself improve dramatically.
That makes sense too, like when you talk about the visual, because boxing is a visual sport. Now you're looking through the lens of your eyes and moving your body through that. Yeah,
it's much more deeper. It's much more deeper. It's a much more deeper way of learning, rather than someone telling you how to do things. If you see something that you like with your own visual eyes, you will naturally want to learn it.
Yeah,
and I think that's a big part of learning. It blows me away when I hear fighters that don't watch boxing at all. It just blows me away. Because what the hell? Or like some really good fighters that are very, very good, and they don't watch boxing. I'm just like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
I can only imagine if you did watch boxing.
Yeah, I know exactly, because like I'm obsessed with soccer.
Yeah.
So like me playing soccer, if I never watched it, and I wouldn't know how to do a new skill trick. I wouldn't know how to do like a certain pass and spin the ball.
And I'm sure it's helped you in the past. Like,
definitely.
Just practicing, and you just have a visual eye for it. What's good, what's not good. And I think it's a big part of learning. Yeah. So for all young fighters out there, make sure you're watching heaps of tape.
Yeah, watch all the fights. How much weight do you usually cut per fight? I know it's different. It would be different every fight, but like, what's usually the cut like?
Yeah, I think the good roundabout weight for me would be, when I was making super featherweight, it was probably about 8 to 9 kilos. Yeah. And off a pretty skinny frame, it's quite a bit. No, I can lose it. Yeah. That's the reason why moving up to lightweight is making me a bit more happier. Yeah. It's a bit more delighting throughout training camp. But it's not fun. Yeah. But it's quite a big weight cut.
So I can imagine like the dehydration part would, like, that must be so difficult, eh?
That's the hardest part, like, and you don't really feel that until the last couple of days of making weight. Throughout camp, you have to be hydrated for training, sparring, all the rest of it. You have to be hydrated through training camp, sparring, and just for your own health. So you're not getting sick. But as you get to fight week and you start cutting back on all your fluids, dehydration is a killer. Yeah. Like, when they say you can do 2 weeks without food, and then you can only do 1 or 2 days without food. Yeah. Man, like there's been times where I've been sitting in a bathtub cutting weight, and I started like hallucinating and seeing like Gatorades float around the water. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause it's not just a physical thing, like it's a mind mess too.
Oh man, it's a killer. Yeah. Like, and it's funny. Every fight is different, right? But the temptation I get when I'm cutting weight in the last, say, 12 hours, 24 hours, the one thing that's always in my mind, and because like you're fighting usually on a weekend on Saturday night. Yeah. So on Friday, you're getting Snapchats and you're getting Instagram.
Everyone's out.
Well, everyone's out, and you're just like, I'm not a big drinker at all. I hate drinking, but you just start craving like cocktails and all these like nasty little drinks.
Long Islands.
Oh man, like things that, and then like once you're rehydrated and had your first glass of water, you're like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe I was thinking that yesterday. It's crazy where your mind goes when you're under that sort of that struggle.
And that must be challenging too. Like we're talking before, like about the temptations, but also like the temptation during dehydration must just just amplify temptation.
And it's weird because like they're temptations, but it's only because you're dehydrated. Yeah. So they're not even real. Yeah. They're not even real. Like I said, I'm not a big drinker. I'm not really a big fan of it either. Yeah. But when I'm dehydrated, I'm laying in bed. I'm seeing everyone's stories and on social media, and you start craving all those naughty little things. Yeah. And like it's like an illusion.
It's like telling your mind it's just playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
Get through it.
100%. And it's crazy the weight cut as well, because when I make weight, it's a dreadful feeling.
Yeah.
You can ask every fighter this, but going off how you feel at that current time, I often like sit in the bath or sauna or whatever I'm doing to lose weight.
Yeah.
And I'll think about how I feel, and I'll be like, man, there's no way I could even finish 2 rounds of boxing currently how I feel. But that all changes as soon as you start feeling good again, replenish yourself, get all the nutrients back in you.
Yeah.
You feel $1 million. But at that, I rewind 12 hours ago, man, I couldn't even do 2 rounds of boxing.
Yeah. Does it usually take 12 hours till you start feeling like 100% again?
I can, like, within like the first 20 minutes, as soon as you get fluid in your belly.
Yeah.
Or fluid or food, you feel like instantly amazing.
And you have to be careful of what fluid you put in. Like, you can't just go and scull like 2 liters of Coke or something. Like, it has to be like water or.
Yeah, well,
what does it look like?
Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Like, every fight is different. Well, I have a pretty strict sort of regime where I have to follow. It's like between hydrolyte, train aid, water, and that's why I have my good friend Callum looking after me.
Yeah.
He makes why I'm struggling to make weight. He's taking care of all that. Has my food prep for me.
That's good.
And there's certain times I have to have those drinks. Times that I have to have them before. And it's pretty it's pretty in depth.
Yeah.
Pretty in depth, but you start to feel good after a good hour. I reckon you start feeling pretty back to normal.
And that's the great thing about having a good team around you too, because like you don't have to stress about any of that type of stuff. Like you just focus on the work that you got to do, and everyone else is there to support you.
Yeah, and like I know a lot of fighters don't have that, and by all means, I never had that when I first started. Yeah. So thankfully, as my career's gone to where it has, I've got people on board now that want to help me, and we're doing it as a team effort. I'm the one getting the ring, yes, but I wouldn't be able to do it without them. The trainer, the people that are helping me in my circle, my sponsors, they all allow me to do my thing full time, and doing it to 100%. And it makes things like that easier. Making weight, like, it's not a fun thing to do. It's dreadful, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's fucking dreadful. But with good people around you, it makes it all a little bit easier. And I think with every camp we have to change a few things, but every camp is getting better and better. And it's good, man. And I think that's how camps should be, how teams should be. You look back on how things went the last camp, and you just slowly change things that were some things you thought were really great, and then you look back and you think, fuck, no, that was not good.
Yeah,
don't do that. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I understand that. Like, I've never like trained or done a camp for boxing, but just like training in the gym, I used to do like heavy lifting. At the time, I thought it was great, and it probably was. But I look back now, I'm like, that's why I was so injured all the time. So I was lifting heavy, like I don't do that now.
I don't know. I don't know how people lift heavy.
Yeah,
that burning feeling. And it's been so sore.
Yeah, sore. Yeah, that was it. Just shoulder pain non-stop. But now I don't lift heavy anymore. Like, I feel
you feel way better.
Good. Yeah. Next question is, what is your why?
I think as years have gone by, little things have changed and added motivation to why I'm doing this. My birth of my kids. I promised to my dad that's probably been the latest stage of my career. Not latest stage, but like the last sort of 10 years. That's the reason. That's my reason why. But before that, it was just simply because I love fighting, and it still is that reason as well. I love fighting. I love combat. I love the intensity. I don't want to sound brutal to the public, but I do like. It's weird to say, but I do like hurting people. It's weirdly enough, like I don't carry that persona on a day-to-day basis. I don't walk down the shops and think, fucking gonna hurt him. Yeah. But in a sport or in a competitive realm, I do like that. I know what it is. I just enjoy its competitiveness. And unfortunately, in what I'm doing, boxing, brutality comes into play. And you have to be more brutal than the other person. And the way that I've, I don't really see myself as a boxer. Like, I've never really seen myself as, I don't usually go into a fight with a game plan box move. And I've had to change that as of now if I want to prolong my career. But my whole mindset, even as a young kid, when I think about it, is I go into a ring and I'm trying to hurt you as much as I can, given the amount of time that I have. Like, ding, ding. Like,
Yeah, the bell's gone.
And like that's like how I've always seen it. And unfortunately, like it's like in my life, like in like going to sparring, and with sparring, like they're my friends as well. So I've had to pull it all back and make it a working relationship as well.
Yeah.
And save that brutality and that nasty sort of side for fight night.
Yeah, like it's like find the way to preserve that energy.
Exactly right, man.
Yeah.
Like I think if I was to try and keep that energy from start to finish from my whole life inside my body, it would just tear me apart.
Yeah.
So I have to just do it in the ring.
It's like sparring is like shaking the soft drink bottle and fight night to open the lid.
Yeah, man, literally.
And letting it explode.
100%, man. And like I had a really bad habit when I was younger, young kid, but I had it as a young kid up until recent years.
Yeah.
I had to really pull it back and like, and the guys I train with day to day, the guys that I train with day in day out, these guys are my friends. So I don't want any bad blood when we get as soon as the spar's done.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not a good way to fucking do your career.
Yeah.
I try and save it all for fight night, and
I feel like that's good for the kids to listen to as well that are getting into or may have that side to them as well.
Yeah,
like hearing that from you.
Yeah, man, 100%. Like you want to, because the people you're sparring day in day out, boxing's a pretty small sport on a big scheme of things. So these guys that you're sparring, you're going to see them again and again and again. So you don't want no bad blood there. Yeah. You're going to work together. Yes, there's going to be some heated moments. Yeah. But I tell you one thing you don't want to do is have a heated moment and then carry it still on outside the spar. Yeah. It's just, it's a shit position to be in.
Yeah, you want to leave it like as a work type thing.
100%, man. My mentality has been like when I go in that ring, it's try and hurt you as much as I can, given the amount of time that I have. Yeah. And I, like as much as I can say, good or bad about it, I think it's gotten me to where I am.
Definitely.
So, I don't really like to brag about it, but it's got me to where I am. And
yeah, I understand those. Like it's just being open and raw and honest, like with the people and with yourself as well. But the thing is, I find it's good that you know it and you embrace it in the sense where you know where you can exercise it, like in a fight, rather than having shame and guilt around it and then letting it explode in other areas of your life. It's like, no, I know I have this within me. I also know where to direct it.
Exactly right, mate. I knew 100% that I couldn't live like that day to day, like from training session to training session, from spar to spar. It wasn't going to sustain. I was going to crumble somewhere. Whether it be in my sport or outside in my personal life, something was going to deteriorate. So I just try and save it all now for fight night, and explode on fight night, I suppose.
Yeah, July 10th.
Yeah, July 10th, man. Like, I can't fucking wait.
Yeah, same, bro. It's gonna be a clash.
Thanks, man. I'm pumped. I really can't wait to prove myself right and prove everybody wrong. And like I said before, some of these people are very close to me as well. And, I know they don't mean bad by it, but I just want to prove to them that, I can be better than what I was.
Most definitely. And that kind of like leads into our last question that we have from the community. It was, what's your prediction for the Youssef fight?
My prediction for the Youssef fight? I don't really like making predictions, right? Because I've seen so many people in the past make a prediction and then the fight goes nothing like that. Yeah. So I'd rather not look like a fucking dickhead.
Yeah, definitely.
But my prediction, I put in a lot of hard work. I feel like I'm going to be in the shape of my life come fight night. I know their camp, Youssef himself, and a lot of the boxing community would have a lot of doubt, and they'd be going off my recent fight or my most recent fights. Yeah. And I'm very aware of where my undoing was. I'm very aware of that. Trust me, I know that. Yeah. I'm the guy in the ring, and I know why I lost those fights. And I just want to make it known that I am working on those flaws, and I think we're on track at the moment. Yeah. So, come July 10, I'm expecting a good hard fight. My focus is purely on Youssef, not George Kambosos, nothing like that. my focus is on Yusuf, as I would be for him as well. A lot of hard work has been put in. I'm fixing my flaws, and look, I want to make a statement, whether that be boxing, or maybe I'm bringing out my brutal self. Maybe I'm doing that, but I have a lot of things built up inside me, and I just can't wait for July 10 to show the public and show everyone that what I think I am.
Well, we're all rooting for you, brother, especially around Brisbane, the North Brisbane. We're all rooting for you, bro. We can't wait for the fight. We all can't wait to see the spectacle that you're going to put on, bro. But I just want to say thank you for giving us your time today, coming on the One Talk podcast, and yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, man.